F-R-E-S-H. Fresh, fresh, fresh. Yo, that's fresh.
Welcome to Fresh Convos. Today we got John Moon, episode 13. What's up, John?
Yo. 13. That's like one of my favorite numbers, so that's perfect, man.
Definitely.
I'm loving it. I'm good. I'm great. It's Monday. It's my day off. Chilling. You know? Life is not so bad, you know.
That's
during
good.
the pandemic, you know.
During the pandemic, yes.
You know.
We'll get into all of that. So why don't we start? So where are you from?
From DC, man. DC, DMV as people call it, but DC proper, right outside of Tacoma Park, Maryland. You know, lived around DC a little bit, but you know, pretty much stay like a Northwest uptown kind of guy, which, you know, that's why I have this like smooth demeanor, you know what I'm saying?
So you're a DC native, right?
DC native, man.
DC native. There you go. What school did you attend?
So I went to Duke Ellington for a couple of years, had some really rough years there, so I can't claim that I'm a alum. I mean, you know, I didn't graduate. I guess that still makes me alumni. I'm not really sure how that word works, but I went there for a couple of years for visual arts, and you know, that's where I met a lot of like early DC hip hop, early golden era hip hop on the rise. You know, people like Slim Cat, people like Black Indian, DJ RBI. That's when I met HL from Chemistry. At that time, they were already Chemistry, sort of, I believe. So, you know, that's like when I met like early people during my formative years at Duke Ellington School of the Arts.
Okay. When did you first become Brainchilde, and what was your inspiration behind that name?
Man, it's really simple but weird, you know. Like I like a lot of other cats maybe around that time, I was a comic book head, and there was there's this point in time where the X-Men, you know, they always have these various like narrative arcs, you know what I'm saying? Like X-Men do this for like 20 issues, or do this or whatever. So there's this like period of time where they go to this place called the Savage Land. And the Savage Land is this completely like undeveloped part of the earth where there's like dinosaurs and all this shit. So there was this one character that came up, this guy with this little like tiny baby body but this huge head, and his name was Brainchilde. He was a villain, and I was just like, I don't know what it is about that guy, but I can't remember who was the artist on the particular issue I saw him. Maybe it was the way he was drawn or something, but I was like, yo, I like that guy, I like that name, I want that name. And then I was like, that's my rap name. That's it. You know, because like you spend a lot of time either you're given a rap name by like the people you run with, or you try to figure it out on your own. Right. So that was me. And I just put I put the E on the end because I was like, you know, all smarty pants. So I was like, Brainchilde, you know, like I wanted to just kind of make it stand out a little bit graphically. But yeah, man, it was something about that guy, and that kind of just led me into, I think part of that was because, you know, I was more of a reader. I wasn't really like spitting street stuff. You know, I was into like fantasy and sci-fi and stuff like that. And I wanted somehow to be able to get that across, but still have something that sounded kind of hard, but kind of mysterious. But also get across the fact that, you know, I was going to hit you with that brain power, you know.
Without the big head and the big
Well, even in the very beginning when I would come up with like logo ideas, I did do this kind of like big-headed sort of version of myself. I wanted to be this brain man. Not just a brain child. I wanted to be a brain man. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted people to know where I was coming from. So
there
that's
you
what that was
have it.
about.
There you have it.
Yeah.
The mystery is unfolded now.
Yeah.
The legend of Brainchild.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah. If you always wanted to know, now you know. Go look it up.
So what inspired you to MC, and what were you listening to at that time?
I can't. Yeah. Okay. Like, and this may say a lot about me to anybody that knows me, but like, honestly, my first inspiration was Organized Confusion,
Okay.
but not like the Stress, Extinction Agenda, all that era. Like their first record was like one of the first. Yeah. So the one that came out, that Disney put out, which is incredibly hard to find. That I had been listening to rap. I've been listening to pop. I can't claim that I have some like deep family history in music, or I was like digging in the crates when I was like 3. Nothing like that. No cousins making beats. I was just a regular kid, and I don't remember how. I think it was just the cover, man. The cover of that record just stood out to me. Just those two faces on that black. And I was like, yo, that's like, what is that? Organized. This is before I was even rapping, you know what I mean? So I got that record, and not record, tape, and just listened to it back to back to back to back to back to back. And it was somewhere in middle school. I was like, yo, I'm going to write my first rap, and it kind of went from there. And then, there's the writing aspect. For me personally, there's the writing aspect, but then there's also the performative aspect. Yeah. So also sometime around that time, like it must have been fate, I got put in a talent show with 5 other guys, and we did Scenario. We did the Scenario remix, and I was Dinko D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like,
So you did the Dinko D's verse.
Yeah, I did Dinko D's verse exactly for this talent show, and maybe that lent something to like where I'm coming from. Plus, like Munch being like one of my like first like favorite MCs, even before all the Munch stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah, so that's kind of the seed of that.
So, so after rhyming in that talent show, doing Scenario, you started. Did you start freestyling?
It was years. That was years. Like, I had like secret notebooks, and like was writing raps, like, went through the whole stage of trying to kind of like, well, what am I going to rap about? Like I didn't know myself yet, we're talking about middle school. So,
right.
I was pretty much, they say you generally start off copying, and then you grow into your own. So, I try to write crime raps. That's not me. Trying to write, like Rakim raps, or like, I was just trying to like, or then I wrote goofy raps, because you got that like kind of 90s like Charlie Brown types, so just playing around and having just kind of building up this little notebook. But it really man, I think I don't know when like the very first time I freestyle was, but Slim Cat was there, the first freestyle I ever remembered. It was on the steps of Duke Ellington, and he brought it up to me for a few years. He was like, yo, I remember you said this thing. And looking back, it's nothing now. But I said something like, I boom like what did I say? I boom and pop like a speaker, get higher than a tweeter. Something like that. You know what I mean? But like, I remember him being there. And that was like my first time even like attempting to like get in a small cipher, like 4 or 5 kids. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then from there, I remember, my really first thing was going to the first Freestyle Union, and Tony Blackman was having over in Southeast by the Big Chair, and was that 8 Rock, right?
Right.
And
right.
that was, you know, that's when I met like Kokai and Sub-Z, Terrence, or, you know,
Yeah,
you know, that's
next
when I met a
question.
lot. That's when I met a lot of those people, and it was like really blown away, you know. But they
Mhm.
welcomed me in, and that really was where that was really where I would say that my freestyle that became more of a thing to me. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
before, it was just like school, and I was kind of doing my thing, and I had some Khalil Gibran's cousin, man, Stefan. Shout out to Stefan, man. He had like a 4-track and a push button sampler, you know what I'm saying, which was like what everybody wanted back then.
Mhm.
And we would do little freestyle tapes, you know what I'm saying? And so evolving kind of in this really basement way, but
Mhm.
then also being able to like really grind it out with, you know, like Freestyle Union with these elders, you know, at that time they
Right.
weren't like
Right.
elders, but you know what I mean? Like these older cats, you know.
So you were
Um,
in the beginning process of Freestyle Union, right?
Yeah, I was at like one of the
Like the
first, like
first.
first, second, third ones. Like you know, yeah, it was like it was somewhere around there. Like it was the very, very beginning. It was just like 7 of us there that the night that I came there.
And how did you hear about it or know about Freestyle
Man, I don't even remember, man. I you know, I think if I
You
really think
walked
back
by
and
and
I really try to establish the timeline, you know, also around that time. So I'm going to Duke Ellington and kicking with those guys. They're already, you know, you have people like Slim Cat who already was in hip hop. You already had DJ RBI who was already doing this thing, right? So like I'm just catching on to a wave at that point.
right.
Plus, you had Howard University was thriving with hip hop at that time. I
Mhm.
mean, DC just in general, you know, like that era was thriving. So
Yes.
I'm gonna say it was, you know, it was just one of these events, and I just bumped into somebody and they were like, "Yo, you should come to the event." I'm this high school kid, you know. I just jump on the bus and like go over there, and like in hopes of that it's gonna be something cool because it's all brand new to me at that point, you know. Like I was young and dumb, just like, "Yo, where's it at?" You know. So I can't say specific. Oh, you know what? I think it was Tony Blackman that invited me the first time.
So you
I
probably
started
met
at a,
Tony
yep.
Blackman.
I
Yeah.
started. I was at a. It was like a hip hop event at Howard University. Don't remember the event, but yep. She was. She. I think she like saw me freestyling or something. It was just like a vibe. And she was like, "Yo, you should come to this event." If I'm not mistaken, I might be getting that wrong, but
Hmm.
I'm almost like actually 100% sure that's how it went.
Okay. What is
Yeah.
your U Street and Niala memories?
Oh man, those days,
Yeah.
man. Some of it's a blur, you know. Some
Like,
of
what do
it's
you remember the best? Like, what?
no. I got you. Some of it's very dear to my heart too, though. You know what I mean? Like, I just remember when U Street, like I said, you know, I used the word thriving before, but I use it again. Like, it was just like a pulse, you know, and you have way more clubs open. Everybody was trying to just figure out, especially with the hip hop thing, everybody was just trying to figure out this hip hop thing. Like, how are we going to do it? How do we get ciphers going? How do we get in the clubs? Who do we need to talk to perform? You
Mhm.
know, people were handing out flyers, you know. But of course, you know, you had these spots like State of the Union, which already had a particular legacy before hip hop. But now, because of like the kind of times are changing in a sense, like that became this like staple place. And you know, I did some of like another thing that I really eventually learned to love was like organizing events, you know. So I did a nice little run at State of the Union for a while. Back to back with Sam Burns, man. Sam Burns was the
Yes.
DJ that came on right after me on Sundays. It was a Sunday situation, and he came
Rest
on
in
after
peace.
us and spun the house. Rest in peace to Sam Burns. Like
Yes.
seriously, man, that guy that guy used
Mhm.
to light my it, especially like if we, you know, like, you know, you're out on the street, you're handing out flyers, you're trying to get anybody to come in the door, and I'm sure anybody who knows from back in those days, man, you hand out like 200 flyers, you get 20 people, you know, and you just want to have a good night. We're just gonna rock it, and there will be some nights I'm like, damn, man, like that was really bad. But
Right.
Sam would come on right after us and spin his thing, and we would talk, and he would just make me feel so good about it. So, you know, I remember like spots. I remember the enthusiasm. I remember just, it was a wave, man. You know, U Street is very, very different from that. And I'm not even sure that there in DC there isn't anything that compares to what, I mean, it was Black Broadway, you know? And then we just kind of reinvigorated that energy.
Exactly.
Unknowingly, I think, you know, like we didn't even know we were catching a spirit, but we did, and we created something that was really beautiful for that time, you know. A lot of great places bit the dust, man. Coffee House, like, is definitely one of the top ones, man. Like, Coffee House was the secondary place for, yeah, that was the second place for Freestyle Union. And that's where, like, I met all of y'all, and that's like, you know, I think that was one of the most, I think Freestyle Union, I think, went to 4 different places over its time, if I'm not mistaken. But Coffee House was the pinnacle, man. That's like when met a lot of people, saw a lot of great shows. Just like everything was like at its like most pristine state right then, you know. If I could freeze any moment in time,
Right.
you know, good and the bad, you know, it would be then, because of the just the energy was so raw, man. And a lot of people that are still kicking to this day were birthed from that, you know. So that's even another beautiful thing.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
Yeah.
U Street. I mean, there's a lot of memories on U Street.
What are some of your favorite memories?
Well, me, I mean,
I'm turning the interview around, man.
No, man, you can't do that. No,
You haven't. You never saw the interview with Tyson and Shatner?
No.
Oh man, he ends up. So Mike Tyson's supposed to be interviewing William Shatner. William Shatner basically flips the interview around. It's just like interviewing Mike. He's like, so like, I'm not going to try to paraphrase. I'm paraphrasing, but like, he's just like, so, you know, like when you're in the ring, like, you know, what was that like? How did it feel to be so young? Like, he's just like, yeah, it's an amazing interview if you ever get a chance to see it.
I'll look it
but
up.
like, I love the fact that you have these 2 titans, you know, and I consider you a titan, my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Well, real quick, my U Street memories. I mean, you know, basically what you said, what you just said. It's at that time, it's very monumental. When you think about it, just a lot of shows we didn't realize. Even Niala, for example, when we all did Niala.
Yeah, I mean, you did ask me about Niala. That's its own like.
Yeah, we contributed.
Chapter.
You know, we contributed. Yeah, we contributed to like the whole U Street scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, and I think, you know, also like, you know, let's take it out of that for a minute. I think for us as a collective, what was really beautiful about Niala is we were able to come out of our bedrooms. We were able to come out of our basements. We were able to like not have to be like, you know, and trying to squeeze into some little cipher or whatever.
Right.
And able to do it on our own terms, in our own space. It was DIY, which is a huge component of like DC culture, from punk to hip hop to beyond that. DIY culture was like at its finest right then. We didn't have no records. We didn't have no, you know, we were recording our own little tapes, trying to scrounge up enough money to buy our equipment, you know, learning how to use speakers, putting on battles, you know, just like all these, you know, great moments, you know, great moments that happen, man.
Zach, we had Slim Cat, HL, and Trevor Goodchild playing live beats.
Yeah, I mean, Niala was the birthplace. Only a few will know if they even check this out. You know, Niala was the birthplace of Todd Matthews, the elephant trainer, man. That's where he was born. Todd Matthews, the elephant trainer, was born in the belly of Niala. That small little, how many people could we fit up there? Like 75, 80 or something? I don't know, man. But like that small little beautiful place, we created a lot of magic.
It was supposed to be like a restaurant or something. I
I
don't know.
remember that's where Spirit, Spirit he crushed me in a battle. Like, I mean, it was like these things, like these things that like were incredible that happened that we a while ago we did that Freestyle Union anniversary, and you weren't able to be there, but I'm not really one for like words and stuff like that too much. But I ended up, feeling the spirit, and I got up and I was just like, man, who would have known then that we'd be standing here now? That's, in reference to that, where we were at, that like we were just kids, just having fun.
Yep.
And you got families, careers, all kinds of pathways that have blossomed from that one little crazy little space. What's his name? Saul Williams came by.
Yeah.
Like, man, just like a lot of really. I think that's where I met DeHondo, because DeHondo was your bass player. So I'm just throwing out names,
Yeah.
but
yeah, so
it's just a collage of incredible things, which if you kind of take it back to the from the micro back to the macro of it, it was just a perfect thing that could have been happening for us in one of the most perfect times in one of the most perfect places. Like U Street was a paradise in a lot of ways.
Definitely, man. I mean, I don't know how it is now.
Oh, it's terrible, man. It's terrible. It's disgusting. It's
what
over.
happened. What happened?
It's overrun with money and chaos and capitalism, and I mean, I work in that industry, food and beverage industry. So there is a part of me that's always gonna love it, regardless of what the evolution is.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
you see the
because
change.
but it's really funny to be one of those people who's taking part, but then also has seen it change. And you're like, no, y'all don't understand, man. It used to be like, you don't want to be that guy, but but then you sometimes you're that guy, because it's like there's just only so many people that know. So yeah, it's a lot different. It's like any other little American strip doing its thing, but the energy is still there.
Right.
You can't really hold back an energy that strong. So there's always going to be independent businesses there. There's always going to be music. There's always going to be somebody every night or whatever. Wait, not right now with COVID, but someone every night, like getting their thing on, selling their music, finding their life in some club, like that is, that's always going to be there. But yeah, what we had, it's this thing. It's special.
Yeah. Let's talk about Joy. How did you meet Joy, and what is your most memorable time with Joy?
I met Joy. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
At Freestyle Union.
Okay.
And she was in the cipher, but she was just sitting there. She didn't like do anything like vocally. But we had some weird interaction. She like put this like ring on my finger or something. It was something like some young weird thing, you know what I mean? We were like kids. But it just, I don't know, the spark was just like really, really nice, and we grew from there. And with her, it kind of introduced me to other people like Hibernation and Chitungwa. I see you looking there. I see you down there looking, not saying nothing. Say something, man. Say something. No, I'm just looking at me with your silent eyes. So, I mean, obviously it's a very touchy, difficult, complicated, emotional life kind of thing, right? And it's something that it's one of those things that, it can take time to look back and really be able to put it all into focus. Mm-hmm. But I will definitely say that woman like introduced me to a different type of understanding. She came from a different perspective with music. You know what I mean? It was something that like I count as like one of my facets, you know. And then of course, like she was so business. She was so
to rhyme, or was she doing that?
No, she was already. When I met her, she had some joints. Yeah.
Okay.
She had some. She had some tracks like. I can't think of. I can't like. I can't remember if I even still have some of those tapes. But yeah, she had some like amazing. Like she was doing like these poetry songs.
Yeah.
But she had like bars and choruses, and she was doing sound effects, and like she actually like the stuff that I first heard from her when I first met her was incredible. Actually, Bridge did some of the production. I think B, homeboy B, who helped us mix the Lettuce album. He did some production. Yeah, she was already thriving as an artist. If anything, maybe the fact that when we met, maybe she got more interested in freestyle, because that was always such like a huge thing for me. And, you know, we would just sit around sometimes and just play around, you know, as couples might do. So
did you guys make music together at one point or no?
We did a couple of like things. I did a couple of like tracks that are somewhere in the ether gathering dust for her when I first started trying production, like for real. Mm-hmm. And we did one hibernation song together, like a posse cut that was really cool. And then then I tried to, like, really early on, I tried to get into these like really I eventually became way more experimental than I was then. But at that time, I had some inclinations to try some really weird experimental stuff, and she helped me out with some of that, some like vocal harmonies and things like that. So like we just were doing concepts, you know what I mean? Not really like songs, you know, like I've never really been a big song person. So
right.
She and I did a lot of really like cool concepts that we were able to get on tape that unfortunately, you know, they might be somewhere, but I can't necessarily say where they are, unfortunately.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Word.
Yeah, man.
So let's talk about the Amphibian. Well, the Amphibians released Let Us Entertain You.
Sure. So
what do you remember from that studio?
You guys called me up and said, we're taking your kids hostage unless you let us release this song. And I said, all right, I guess. That's how I remember it. How do you remember it, Joe? No.
I had to say that in my interview, but I'll give my short intake. It was interesting. I mean, you know, versus recording in Trevor's room.
Yeah.
And then Brian's, is his name Brian? Yeah. The studio. So I knew I had to change up the beat for.
Changed it up.
Yeah.
Brought us into
quantize it.
He took us. Well, I mean, no, I mean, you know, like I think we kind of touched on this maybe last time we spoke. Like, you know, at that time, it was so important for us to be like dusty and dirty and raw and all these kind of things like that. Like that was the stamp of, you know, of the culture at the time. And for us being the way we were, we definitely always wanted that rawness. And when that song came from, it's like, you know, I mean, to me, it was a demo, you know, like, well, it wasn't even a demo. Let me not look at it like that. To me, at that time, it was just one of the few songs out of the million that we had recorded. That's really all it was.
Probably one of the first songs that we like did together collectively. Like,
yeah, it was definitely one of those. And it was just a fun thing, you know, and I'm not sure why that song even got picked. Maybe it was, you know, like, I can't really say, but like it did. And I think we got it to the studio, and B basically kind of updated that. I mean, yeah, there's
Right.
quantizing, there's cleaning
he cleaned
up.
It up. He cleaned
it up. We'll go with that. All
we'll
right.
go with
he
that.
Cleaned it up.
Okay, he cleaned it up.
But I mean, honestly, like
I don't know, because Trevor told me something different, but like
no. I mean,
Trevor's
Trevor's entitled to his own feelings, and I'm sure that what I'm saying is kind of what Trevor's saying, that it was like now produced. It was our first time in an environment like that where we could really even resample, resequence. Like, Trevor had a MS1 and a 4-track. Right. And and a drum machine, like, at that time, right? Like, he had like 3 pieces of equipment and a record player, right? Mm-hmm. So it's only so much you can do with 4 tracks. So this is like our first time really being able to get into an environment like that and think about a song going from a demo, which is basically it was, to like an actual song. Like, okay, right. Like, we got a bridge in there, vocals are cleaned up, performances are cleaned up. And it got us some radio play, and it was the first and only record we ever put out. So, like, I mean, as a collective. So,
so tell everyone how you were introduced to the Amphibian Collective.
Man, I don't know, man. It just kind of happened organically. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It started in Duke Ellington, meeting a few of those people. It definitely evolved over time from there. And like I said, like, Coffee House, man, really really brought a lot of us together and really strengthened that. And people started getting apartments and, moving out of the basement. Like, it was just like we were kind of stepping into our adult phase. Right. But before that, man, like I said, I met Slim Cat, who was an Amphibian, met HL, who was his partner. From there, Khalil, I knew Khalil because I rode with his cousin. Then from there, who else did I know? Oh, then Philly went to Duke, right? Yeah, so sorry, sometimes my old man memory be taking me over, man. I don't really remember, like, when me and Philly, like, I just felt like I always knew Philly for some weird reason. That's why, like, my memory skips there, because he was just always there in a weird way. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah, so there you have that. And then, I mean, your brother's the one that coined it, right? So honestly, I don't like this question at all. It really makes me, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I definitely, I got some Swiss cheese memory, man. I remember feelings and stuff more than, like, facts. Right. Well, but
you don't have to be. You don't.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be specific. I know.
What time? You know what I'm saying? Like,
but if you 9:30, I remember it was 9:38. The sun was midway in the sky. There was a smell of lilac in the air, and I knew our youth was upon us.
There you go.
Like, it was just this really organic thing that evolved, that, like, definitely birthplace at Duke Ellington for me personally. Right. But obviously everybody was having their own initial shoot off points that kind of coalesced into one. But yeah, man, like, maybe that's a testament to the power of it, that I really can't really personally. Somebody else probably could break it down.
No, it's fine.
Personally, like, man, it just happened, and all of a sudden I was in a crew. I went from being a little kid who, like, couldn't rap to being in a crew of some, like, at least personally, some, like, people that I consider some, like, hitters. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were different. Yes. We were unusual. We were a little ragtag group of misfits, but also, different styles and stuff. We had all these other, like, I mean, I guess we were misfits because we kind of had every spectrum. We had every facet, and that's really what kept me there. Like, I can't necessarily say, like, how I got specifically there, but what kept me there was the fact that, like, it was a strong collective with incredible ideas of people that were not afraid to like authentically do their thing. Okay. And we had some of the fucking best like beats available to us. So like, how could you turn? And then you guys came to me with like, you know, in robes and inducted me in like in the Illuminati. No one knows that part, but it was in the dark hall. No, you know, we just came together beautifully. And I remember, because there was so many crews, like everybody was in a crew at that time, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But what really held us together was that camaraderie, man, you know, like, and really, it was a frequency that we all, like, either you got it or you didn't get it. Because I think a few people kind of came and went, but like the ones that stuck around, man, they was the ones that really like were on that frequency, you know.
Right. You started getting into experimenting with jazz, punk, and hip hop. What was the inspiration behind that?
Drugs? No.
Well, okay then.
I'm here to besmirch. No. Anyway, let me see. So it had been like a few years, and I had been kind of like not super active. Just life stuff, being married, kids, you know, and was just kind of like mostly just doing production at home, just kind of chilling and stuff. And then Rashad Dobbins, man, Scorpion, man, came back into my life, introduced me to some really incredible things I hadn't heard. And I was like, damn, where the fuck has this music been? You know, like he would introduce me to like early Modest Mouse. I was listening to jazz, but then over time we started listening to some really heavy stuff. And, you know, I've been catching, like, I had always been into rock, you know, but like punk for me carried this whole other energy that like I couldn't find anywhere else. And that got me deeper into that. So over the few years, like building with Rashad Dobbins, Tim Hicks, and we were kind of like growing our knowledge of music and our appreciation of music, really, like just developing a wider appreciation outside of hip hop. Like, what if we did this with hip hop, or what if we tried this, or just because the majority of my experiences are performative, right? So you're up on stage and you just try something, and so that was huge. But then also just going to shows. You know, DC has like incredible music. So the more I started appreciating things, I started going to shows, started meeting other bands, and just seeing throwing everything at the wall and just seeing what sticks. And really, like I said, with performance really helped me, because you're not sitting down writing it out and thinking like, oh, what if I do this or what if I do that? You know, I was able to get up on stage, especially in a lot of like improvisational moments, and just try things. You know, with the AVG, which was the early incarnation of sorts of the Cornel West theory, we were blending in jazz. Like there was this one, you know, we had two drummers a lot of times. Right. There was one time, this is going to sound really crazy, probably to some other people, but there was one time we had two drummers just going off, and I was going through some like really emotional things at that time, and I did like a 4-minute scream solo over two drummers. And I mean, it sounds hilarious, but you kind of had to be there. Like there were people crying, right? You know, and we, you know, when we were doing those early AVG experiments, like I remember there's this one guy in the most like regular DC voice ever. He was just like, "Yo, that remind me of the first time I did boat, cuz." And like, I know, you know, that's like, you know, to me it was a high compliment, you know what I'm saying? Because we were up there playing some really wild stuff, you know, and it taught me a lot about like the performance space is a lot the way you consume art in the performance space is a lot different from the way you consume art when you're listening to it recorded. You know, it's much more of a ceremonial, ritualistic kind of thing. So that aspect is what got me into it. But then also on the written technical side, it was just all these rhythms and tonalities and approaches and things that I just felt like I wanted to do, and hip hop didn't allow it. So how I got to kind of force it in on my own, you know? And then over time, I started seeing other people also experimenting with it. I've gone back, listened to some interesting things that like, wow, I didn't even know this like band existed, or, you know, this artist existed. To be honest, I just was really attaching myself to a legacy that was already there. You know what I mean? I was just catching, that's how I look at everything. You're usually just catching a wave that was already there before and will be there after, you know? But
so so your research to this music, you were doing music at this time. So you were with Rashad, Tim.
Yeah. I mean, we were listening to a lot of stuff, sharing a lot of music. Rashad Born Infinite, who was also part of that group. They were at AU, and AU had this like sick music library, so you could go there and listen to records. I was going to like Martin Luther King library and just like listening to records on, you know, I stopped listening, especially with the jazz stuff. I stopped listening to records from the sample aspect, you know. And then PFW, of course, you know, always having PFW, you know, right back there in the background, right, was like, oh, I don't have to just tune in when there's hip hop playing. Like there's all this other really cool music playing, like, and it all just kind of had already been there. The interest had been there, but now later I was able to coalesce it outside of the interest into actual like manifestation. Like now I can actually do it. I've thought about these things, but now I can actually try them out, and I don't care, you know. It was a lot of it was just kind of jumping out there and just trying it and seeing what stuck, you know, and just meeting a few cool people along the way, you know. Like once I got into Dapp theory, that strengthened the jazz thing, you know. I met people like, you know, so but so the initial trigger I'll say was just an interest and a kind of a fearlessness.
Oh, explain to people what Dapp theory is.
Sure. Dapp theory is a band, a jazz quartet that started, I believe in like 91, before I joined the group. So it started as more of an instrumental jazz, and then they had Kokai, Carl Walker, amazing guy, shout out to him, as their vocalist for many years. And then I saw Carl at a 8th Street Festival, and he was like, actually right before this, Carl, I guess, couldn't do one of the gigs. And Rashad Dobbins was their guest vocalist for a tour. And they loved him and hated him. Because he was just like, you know, he was really coming into who he was, you know, as a person. Like he was doing like stuff with megaphones and, you know, we were getting more into like shouted vocals, just like really more dynamic stuff. So he already had the, like the temperament for jazz. Like he had appreciation and temper, but he also wanted to like add some other things into it. So he was like maybe a little wild for them. Maybe, I don't know. So Carl, I saw him at an 8th Street Festival. He was like, yo, there's this band, Dapp Theory. And I was like, oh yeah, Dobbins was doing that. He was like, yeah, I can't do this tour, and I want to see if you want to audition. So the band is put together by a pianist, Andy Milne. It's his baby. He's from Canada, Toronto, Canada. And he's, like I say, he's been doing it for years. It's basically jazz fusion influenced. So it's got a little like progressive, a little electronic, playing off of jazz rhythms, playing off of jazz modalities, but it's kind of its own thing. But then what kind of helps them stand out is the fact that they always had a rap vocalist.
Okay.
So as opposed to having like a singer, as most, which, you know, what's inspired by something like, you know, jazz and rap had already started kind of fusing, but but there weren't like any bands that were doing it. It's usually always like a one-off or like a project or a single there wasn't really a band that like the what we take as the roots, like for granted.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
There wasn't obviously the roots is more hip hop, but there wasn't like a jazz group that did anything like that. So Kokai led the charge on that, and then I came in around the same time I was in the Avant-Garde Violence, the AVG, and I did a tour with them, and it was like one of my first times like actually making some decent money from music. I was like, damn, I like this, and I loved it because it allowed me to work. That's where I got my interest in like polyrhythms and odd meters. Like I love like rapping over things that are like not in 4/4, like 3/5, 3/4. So I got into stuff like that, learning to control my voice in an improvisational setting where it's like, okay, this is the low part, this is the louder part. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what Dapp theory is, and the part that I play in it is that like as a rap vocalist, I'm serving less as the spotlight and more as like another instrumentalist in the group in a way. I take more like solos as opposed to there being like songs and things like that. So it's much more in the jazz idiom. You know what I mean?
Right. In 2019, you won the Juno Award.
Yeah.
With Dapp theory.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was weird.
How did you feel?
It was weird, man, because kind of like one of the things that like that we haven't really touched on, and I specifically haven't touched on, is that I've been purposefully inactive. I haven't really actually been engaging with art in the last couple of years. Purposefully, I kind of just wanted to take a break, and it keeps calling me back. So there's some things that may be in the pipeline. We can get to that later, but I won the award during a year that I was not active in music. It was actually really strange. We had recorded the record a year before, and the Juno, for anybody that doesn't know, is it's a Canadian music award similar to like our Grammys. It was for Best Jazz Group 2019. Sorry, I'm fudgy with these things, but it basically, the point is, it was a really strange honor to get, and it was less important to me and more important to the fact that Andy Milne is like an amazing pianist, amazing composer, has some incredible music out there, and has been grinding his ass off coming from Toronto, Canada, and I don't think he had the recognition that he deserved. You know what I mean? Like, I was really just another instrument on that album. Really, we run that record because of him. He composed this incredible idea. I mean, I'll kind of break it down loosely. So he was having some really bad back troubles, some really terrible back pains, and he got with a few different like medical doctors, and it wasn't working. And he got with this holistic doctor who started using just some alternative medicines, and he decided to use one of the specific things that came out of that as a formula to compose the music. Mm-hmm. So he had us answer these questionnaires. Each main instrumentalist, including myself, plus 2 horn players and a guitarist who were an addition to the ensemble. He had us all answer these questionnaires. And his goal was to take the questionnaires, take them back to this doctor. The doctor would then explain our personalities to Andy. And then Andy from there was to compose the perfect tune for each individual. Mm. All the questions were mostly about music. Like, do you like this song? Why do you like this song? But they were all about music. But he used our understanding of music to get a glimpse into our personalities, or like our musical psychologies in a way. You know what I mean? So then he came back to us with the music, and we practiced it for months. We toured it for a few months, and then we recorded it. And so the whole thing for me was really about the experience. Like, this was this really incredible experience we had, and Andy Milne is amazing, and I'm so glad I could be a part of it. And then little did I know, it was like a year later, I was going to be winning a award for that record, or being a part. Let me say, winning an award for being a part of that record. You know what I mean? Like, there were a lot of other incredible people part of that, including the core members of Dapp Theory. Right. So, but it still took me like 6 months to I kept forgetting to have him send it to me. He was supposed to FedEx it to me, and he was finally like, dude, like he recently left New York, and he's teaching in Michigan. He got this really great job teaching music in Michigan. And he was like, dude, I'm leaving New York for good. I'm going to Michigan. I'll never be back. Do you want this fucking award or not? You know what I mean? Excuse my language, but I was like, oh man, yeah, please send it to me. So now it's sitting on my makeshift mantelpiece right now. And it's beautiful.
Do you feel that it was
nice?
Yeah. So winning that award at that time, where you weren't, where you weren't really doing music, did you feel like it was like sort of like a sign, or like a light of like that timing of?
I don't want to be too poetic about it. You know, it was
well, keep it simple.
Like I said, for me, it was less about me and more about Andy. Right, for me personally, no, it was just ironic. It was just hella ironic. Mm-hmm. And I mean, maybe in some ways it felt like the closing of a chapter in a way. It's like, this was the first time in life I had ever said, you know what? It wasn't like I was retiring, but it was kind of like that in a way. Like, I'm literally not doing music. Right. And I was telling people, I'm not like doing music. Like, people started knowing like I'm not, doing anything. And to get that award was kind of like, kind of ironically cool. It was just like,
I mean, I feel that.
At least I have something to show for the fact that I grueled and I grinded of all these years, and I did something. I can show my grandkids that, I did something. But like I said, or I've been saying, for me, art is not really about like the accolades as much, or the awards or anything like that. I connect with music so much through that spiritual performative side of it sometimes that's all I really need to feed me, and a few good memories, but it's cool. It's cool to have that award, like, that's I appreciate great. You. Well, I appreciate you asking. Well, thanks, man.
Me and Chatungo congratulate you.
I mean, I didn't I didn't put it up on IG or anything like that. 2019 hashtag 2019 Juno Awards.
I don't know. You should have, baby. I'm just kidding. So when did Brainchilde become John Moon? And what is the difference between the two? The Brainchilde, Ellington, to John Moon now.
I mean, there's the simple answer, and then there's the deeper answer, and neither are too long. Okay. The simple answer is that, when you have these like names, these hip hop names or whatever, that's what people call you by all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn. Sometimes I would be like, damn, does anybody actually know my name? I'm tired of, I had people call me Brainchilde, a couple people call me BC. There were a lot of people that call me Brain. It was just like brain. And I don't know, it just started irritating me. I was like, I'm making my mission. My mission is that I am going to make my new rap. I wanted a new identity, a new rap name. I was like, I'm going to make my mission that my first name is going to be in there. Mm-hmm. So that was the simple answer. And then I went through something right between Brainchilde, which only like HL seems to remember for some reason. I for a little while, it's so ridiculous. I was Agent I.
Oh, that's right.
Do you remember that?
Yes, yes, I do remember that now. Since
for there was
so that was a little bit before John Moon.
and a little bit after Brainchild.
Yeah, a
That
little
was
bit.
that was me trying to drop Brain, and only like a few people remember that, you know. So shout out to anybody that can do that deep dive. You know what I'm saying?
Now, because I remember you recording songs under that alias.
Yeah, there was like maybe one or two, and what that was. Okay, so with me, look, all this is in retrospect, of course, but Brainchild was definitely a lot more of the technical, super scientifical, big words, complicated flows, like and I think in addition, I was getting new influences and new ideas, and wanted to. From the technical side, I wanted to get a little further away from the overly choppy, wordy stuff, get into like some more metaphysical stuff, just like really experiment, with flows and ideas. And Brainchild just didn't seem to fit that, It felt like it was time to grow up. Like, who wants to be a 40-year-old Brainchild?
I mean, it's a cool name.
It's a cool name. Somebody can have it. Somebody probably already has it. Look up Brainchild. Hey, Mike, look up Brainchild. A little chappy. Like the robot. So a lot of that also was going. There was a simple reason, which was like I just wanted to put my identity into it. I guess that's what I was yearning for. I wanted people to know that I was me. So I put my name into it. Moon kind of came to me like in a dream almost, and it just worked. And like people just immediately were fine with it. And I was like, I guess that's it. And that's, I've been John Moon or John Wesley Moon, depending on where I'm at, forever since then. Some people don't even know my last name, man. Oh, Juan Luna. I got a few people that know me as Juan Luna, Shout out to Jamal. He's the one that who gave me that, Juan Luna. He was like, yo, did you know like your name is still 4 letters if you do it in Spanish? I was like, what? He was like, yeah, Juan Luna.
That's dope,
yeah.
Explain your thoughts on doing music as a career versus doing music for the love. I mean, you were getting a little bit into that.
Yeah.
You want to like,
Yeah, sure. I mean,
what's
it's hard, like,
right. So career wise, like, what made you decide, okay, well, you love music.
Yeah.
Right? You want to do it for the love of the art, the love of your soul, like,
always.
Okay, but why not the business part? Like, what do you have, like, as far as like,
I think
why can't you balance it out? Like,
I think no, you can. I think it's a slippery slope, and I think only a few have really done it extremely well. Some have done it well. I think now is the perfect time to do that if you want to find that balance. It's a lot easier than it ever was before. If you're, and I'm saying that all in saying, like, if you're a person that's interested in doing something experimental. I mean, obviously, if you want to kind of cash in and, kind of go with whatever the general trends are. I'm not saying you got to go all the way and be like Migos, but like, you might, you're using like the beats that everybody's using. You're doing what everybody's kind of doing. Business and art, you get a couple of deals. YouTube is full of them. They're YouTube rappers now. The whole entire YouTube rappers. Like, they don't have records. They're on YouTube. They do videos and they have Bandcamp, and they're paid. So that's something that didn't necessarily exist So I had to be a little bit more. I would have had to be a little bit more DIY about it. So that's from the business side. You know, I guess just personally, I just didn't have it in me to try to figure it out. I preferred performing, doing my weird little experiments, and you know, just growing that way. Artistically, for me, growing that way was enough. You know, I've never been the kind of guy that like hates having a job. Maybe at some point in life, but not really. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be a working artist. You know, I'm not gonna be a starving artist. You know, so like I'd rather be a working artist and being able to do what it is that I really want to do, than trying to like stick to my guns, do this weirdo stuff, and try to figure out how to, you know, get a meal every day. And you know, I've known a few people evolve in that way. I had a family, so that also made the difference. I can't necessarily do that either. So maybe that also in a way played a part in what I was willing and not willing to do. But you know, once I got into Dapp theory, I started thinking about it a little bit more differently, because touring and being able to like actually make money from a show changed my mind somewhat. But personally, I never was the guy that wanted to put out a bunch of songs or work on a bunch of records. And I'm not sure. I think I just always loved performing, and I always loved live moments. Some of my journey kind of went from being this sort of like nerd guy to this sort of like science fiction guy to sort of like embracing like just the magic and the mysticism of art. And you don't get paid to be a shaman. You know what I mean? I mean, you do, but you don't. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean,
you know, you're doing it because that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? That's what you're driven to do. And there was a lot of that kind of folded into my experience. It started because some of the experiences that I was having and places I was going, and you know, people that I was meeting just changed, gave me a more communal idea about art versus like this commercial thing, the record thing, the video thing, you know, whatever the general path that everyone like, you know, normally takes. I just can't say that I was ever interested in it long enough to pursue it. But have I ever had like interests and inclinations? Of course. I mean, who doesn't want to make money doing music? But I just also know that for me as an artist who was very much more 90% artist and 10% businessman, it was really going to take some kind of like nudge in the other direction. And I guess it just wasn't, but I think now is an incredible time to pursue that. So I don't want to dissuade or like shit on anybody that's like finding that balance. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people are finding incredible balances, and we have, you know, say what you will about a Kendrick or a SZA or a J. Cole or whatever. They are the kind of like manifestation of people kind of doing, or maybe fully doing, the art that they want to do that has integrity, but they're also getting Nike deals. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that we're definitely in a different era for art in general. Like, on that, you have that on one side, but then you also have people that are like making a full $100,000 a year on Bandcamp, you know, and with merchandise, you know, and when touring was going on, they could do that as well. So I don't think there's really any ceilings now, but I think just where I was coming from, sort of like a much more like grimier and more down to earth connection with art. It just helped me. It just made more sense to like, I would tour and then I could do my little experimental stuff on the side, and then I would go to work, and that was my life. You know what I mean? And that was okay.
There you
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah.
Okay, just a couple more questions. You got into bartending.
Yeah.
What made you interested in the food beverage industry?
Money. No. I mean, all right. So yes, definitely money. Definitely like a few things. So in some ways, it was a very strange evolution for me. Like, I've been an electrician apprentice. I was in AmeriCorps for 2 years. So I had a deep interest in teaching for a while. You know, I've done graphic design for years. Man, I've been everything, you know, and I was an admin assistant for years. So I know Microsoft Office, like front to back, like all that stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I didn't want to be behind a desk. So I got away from that. I had an interest in teaching, but I just didn't want to pay to go back to school. You know, I just didn't have the schooling. And that's kind of like, that ends up being one of, like, that can be a hard world to exist in with limited credentials, because that's the name. You're in education, so you should be educated. You know what I mean?
Right.
So credentials play a huge portion of that. So I just didn't really want to pay the money to go back to school and do that whole thing. And so it just kind of evolved. And, you know, I was kind of looking for work, but also just interested in doing something different, you know. And I fell into bartending like a lot of people do, and like loved it. And then got some opportunities early on to like grow and develop. And then got to work at a really good bar in downtown DC called Crimson. And that was a whiskey bar. And the beverage manager there at the time, Nick Hellberg, he was the vision of the whole bar. So it's a 3-level bar, but each level had a theme. And because of that theme, had completely different cuisine, had completely different approaches to cocktails. He introduced me to like a lot of there's some incredible like Bibles to cocktailing like out here. He introduced me to a lot of that. Gave me a shot when I was like kind of still a crappy bartender, actually. Like, he was really looking for you know, some pretty seasoned bartenders, but he loved my personality. And that was the other thing. Like, I loved people, you know, I like, you know, so like so teaching, all you're doing is kind of like sitting with these kids. It drives you crazy, you know, like admin, you're sitting behind a desk. So I loved all the things I was doing, but the one other thing that was missing was the social aspect. And what I found in bartending when I got into it was everything. You know, I'm on my feet, which I love. I'm learning a lot. I'm making money, which is great. And then I'm able to really like connect with people and utilize that skill that I have. And, you know, as an artist, when you're behind the bar, you're really on stage. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I was able to get that part out of me too. I love performing, you know, so I was able to really kind of take all these skills and coalesce them into one thing that just coincidentally has been, you know, profitable enough for me. So, you know, with Nick, it got me from just like, you know, making a Long Island to like really understanding what whiskey works better in an old fashioned, why this whiskey costs $10 versus this one that's like $200 a pour, learning how to sell $200 a pour whiskeys. And I've sold a few of them in my lifetime, you know, and I was able to learn a lot in a very short period of time. So that made me feel like I was meant to be there. And it had been a long time since I had been brand new at anything, you know, so that was kind of cool too. Like, bartenders,
to be
man,
like a bartender,
man, the bartenders are notorious.
You get to be a chemist, and like, you know, it's
and
a
then
social
and then
job
and then it's you know, like, it's sort of a brotherhood too, you know, not excluding the women, but just using that word, you know, it's got some Illuminati aspects to it, you know, like there are people who are like these really incredible bartenders who know a lot about chemistry, who, you know, this person has worked at that bar and this bar and done bar managing here and there. So there's a whole incredible career path that one can take just starting in one place. You know, Nick, the guy who, like I said, taught me a lot of stuff. He started out as a regular bartender, and then, like, I mean, he's helped opened 10 or 15 restaurants, created bar programs. One time I remember walking into his office and he was just looking at like a molecular chart, like a molecular structure of like a whiskey. I'm like, what is that? And he, you know, but that's like where he was, you know, and that, so you have the chemistry, the social, the art, it's a science and it's an art and it's a living. So that's what kept me there, you know, but I fell into it just like, you know, any other thing.
Great.
Yeah.
So you still work, at a bar?
So yeah, so I'm working at another place, Upper Northwest, Petworth area of DC. It's a bar / event space. Actually just did a big wedding last night at our space, and helped out the bev manager kind of, you know, get the menu together, was able to kind of contribute in on that. So that was cool.
So basically, it's more of an events bar, or is it like
it's both. Well, so you got to think about this like pre and post COVID. You know what I mean?
Right.
So pre-COVID, it was definitely more of a bar on like a Friday night. So the capacity is like 1,000. Excuse me. At any given moment, the capacity is like 1,000. So, you know, it was almost more of like a bar, you know, you're just behind the bar slinging drinks, which I don't mind, you know. And then because of that space, we were able to do a huge like indoor farmers market every Sunday for the community. Once we had like a huge like dog Olympics. So there were like 1,000, we allowed dogs and children because the space is they call it a community living room that's how they would term it, a community living room.
Okay.
So we do yoga classes, exercise classes every Sunday. It's just a huge space that we're having some big debate parties coming up. Football is back. So we're not open on Mondays, but we're doing Sunday football. You know, so we're doing like the usual kind of bar things, but then also serving. We're doing getting people signed up to vote during the debate. So there's a community aspect that's attached to it as well. So the owners have a vision of being a little bit of both, you know, a community living room, a place where it can be open to events and community engagement. But then also, you know, we're just trying to like food and beverage people up, especially now because like, you know what I mean? It's like people are
tell
looking.
Everybody to check his place out.
It's called Hook Hall, by the way. Sorry. Hook Hall, Petworth, on Georgia Avenue, historic Georgia Avenue, down from the house.
What's the opening time?
Just come find me on a Friday. I'm there every Friday.
There you go. So Friday, check
I'm seeing
Mr. John Moon out.
We take reservations, and we have this like whole like Oasis Cabana feel going on right now. So it's a little bit of like a little escape from reality, you know. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing, and just so working there, and you know, just doing my research and learning more and more about cocktails, and thinking about next year getting into more like mobile bartending, private bartending. Trying to think about also getting my catering chops. What I'm really ultimately oops, am I still there? Sorry about that. What I'm ultimately, I'm actually running out of battery soon, by the way.
Okay. Last question after this.
So, but what my whole ultimate goal is ownership and wanting to have, to be able to create venues and spaces for people like us when we were young to keep doing what we were doing. And also I'm interested in community engagement as well. So right now, you know, I already have so many other skills that I've amassed over time, but also just developing these food and beverage skills a lot stronger, because nothing sucks worse than an owner who doesn't know how his business runs. You know what I mean? So really like understanding the ins and outs of that, so that when I do step into that, I'm ready. You know what I mean? Like I can come up with a business plan that makes sense, because I already feel like, you know, I have taste, so I can get the music, I can get the art, You know, I like people, so I can engage. But then there's also just literally knowing the technical side. You don't have to know every single thing. You know, that's why you hire experts. But
right.
but having a strong understanding of what you have, you know, when you have a business, like really understanding what you have there is just going to only help you succeed. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with that.
One more question. Where can people find your music?
In the annals of history.
Like, no, from like past
gathering dust.
Are there like, you know, recordings
look, man,
of
you know, I got a
Cornel
couple
theory and
no, I got you. I'm playing. So you know, I have an old dusty SoundCloud. So if you want to look up John Moon on SoundCloud, feel free. I still got some really cool like remixes and things that I've done in the past, and some beats and stuff are there. And you know, I might be putting some stuff up there soon. Actually putting together some stuff that's more specific, like for Bandcamp. Working on some project right now. Working with Jamal Gray, hopefully on a project that's coming up. Outside of that, yeah, Cornel West Theory is available on all the platforms. You can see me on the performance video, so that's on YouTube or in a couple of videos. Dapp Theory, all the platforms. Our most recent record, Seasons of Being, the one that we won an award for. You can find that. I released that only on Bandcamp, so you can find that there. Whereas all the other records were available from the previous record company. So just look up Dapp Theory. Also look up Andy Milne. Shout out to him. So yeah, just look me up if you want to, man. You know, or come find me. Come to my bar. Come find me. Yes. You know, or you might, you know, you might see me in your dream. You might see me in your dreams some night. Yeah, come and get your drink on. Or I'll see you in your dreams like Freddie, you know.
Thank you very much, John Moon, for taking this time.
No problem. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having
Convos,
me, man.
Episode 13. Look out for season 2. We're gonna have a whole lot of different people on there, and a new, like, you know, something new. So thank you.
Fresh, fresh, fresh. Yo, that's right.